Hello, I'm AJ McMullen. I am a sci-fi and fantasy author, and today we're going to talk about balancing writing and other responsibilities. How do I do that? When I first became serious about writing, I was not married and I did not have a child. I remember making a video where I said that I get up at 4 o'clock every single morning and I write. That was true up until I became a father. Yes, God. No, I love being a dad. I really do. I love my daughter to death. However, she does not allow us to actually get anything done. I have gotten a lot of practice writing in between responsibilities. My wife and I got married 4 years after publishing my first book. Oh, wow. 2023 we got married. We had a daughter in January of the following year. My writing times changed drastically throughout that time. I would love to have a cookie cutter answer, give you a 1 through 5 of things that you can do to increase your writing and all that other stuff. The feng shui of how to get your calendar to work for you and all that. We're gonna throw all that away. I was not able to do the same thing after I had my first kid as I did when I started. Obviously, right? You always got to change it up because kids are going to change it up on you. They're going to make you change it. Every single time that you think you figured it out, they will change it again. In hindsight, I used to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I used to write. And I used to make sure that every single day, just off a NaNoWriMo principle, I know we don't talk about NaNoWriMo anymore, but off a NaNoWriMo principle for the month of November, in order to get to 50,000 words, you got to write 1,666 words every single day. So my goal was to write 50,000 words a month. And if I went over, which most of the time I did, my goal was to write 1,600 words a day. Every now and then I would have a day where I don't necessarily write anything, and that's completely fine. It's not that big of a deal as long as you are working towards something. Some people like to set deadlines for themselves. I set deadlines for myself. I really do. And sometimes when the deadline is set, I'm able to do a little bit more. Right now, July 29th, I have the second book of my Red Phase coming out, and don't think I'm gonna make it, but the deadline is set and the deadline makes me work harder. So the biggest thing that I recommend is figuring out what your best process is. Most people would like to write on a computer, sit down at a laptop or a computer at a keyboard, full-size keyboard. I didn't necessarily have that luxury most of the time. I was working at Amazon early on in my career, and I had to literally write whenever I had time. But if I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I couldn't necessarily write, break time, I'll be able to write, bang out a few words during break. We have 15-minute breaks there, so at least 13 minutes that I can actually get some real writing done. Lunch break is 30 minutes. That's at least 28 minutes that I can get some real writing done. There were some times where, I just had some ideas, or, I was working on a really good scene that I didn't really want to interrupt. I would sit in the bathroom and just be on the toilet writing. I know a lot of people don't like touching their phones on the bathroom. I did what I had to do. I got the words out there. I got the ideas on the paper, so to speak. 90% of my writing is done just on the touchscreen of my phone. It's crazy that, a lot of people put a whole bunch of emphasis on having things all buttoned up and polished, having a streamlined process, but there is no streamline when it comes to success. If I'm getting a book written, the real thing that matters is the book itself being written. It don't matter where the words were written at unless you use AI, and that's a different topic. Then it really does matter where the words were written at. Don't use AI, y'all. The process in which the words were written does not matter when you read the book. I wrote majority of this book on the keyboard of my phone, and I wrote the other bit of it or the keyboard on a computer. But when you're reading the pages, you can't tell one way or the other where I wrote those words at, it doesn't reflect. So it really doesn't matter if you have a streamlined process or not. Don't let people trick you into thinking that, everything has to be perfect. You need a whole bunch of tools. You need a whole bunch of apps and all that other stuff. You need to pay a bunch of services and all that other stuff. You need to ignore your family, ignore your kids, all that. Like, just a matter of how bad do you want to get it done. So prioritizing the things that you need to do in order to write. At the moment, where does writing fall at? Now, at the moment, writing is down here for me because I'm making this video for y'all, you know what I'm saying? And my wife and my daughter are in the other room. It's nap time. So right now, writing is low on that list. The first nap, writing was high on the list. I got a little bit of writing done, and now writing is low on the list. So it's just a matter of what's going on in your day, what's going on in your world, so that you make sure that you actually get some writing done. But I don't suggest falling off in other categories. I don't suggest blowing your weight out of proportion to write. I don't suggest you losing your marriage to write. I don't suggest you ignore your kids to write. There's a short time in the morning, even though we go to bed too late for me to wake up at 4 o'clock. My daughter doesn't get up until about 8 or 9. There's a little moment in the morning where I'm able to actually get some stuff done. I'm up and I'm actually getting to it. I'm getting at it. Right at bedtime, we're laying down, and before I go to sleep, I get a little bit of writing done then. It doesn't matter. Like, it just, whenever you get a chance to do it, streamline your process. It's about your process, y'all. Like, your process don't have to be perfect. It just has to work. Like, all that it takes is for a working process. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's not going to look pretty. It's not going to look sexy. Nothing looks sexy about writing. That's why I don't record my writing. Nobody cares about that. But what is sexy is holding this book in my hand. And speaking of holding this book in my hand, if you're interested in a copy of Legacy of the Arcade Flame, you can find this in ebook and paperback all over the internet, wherever books are sold, including Amazon. And I'm selling signed copies on my website at ajmcmullen.com. That's right down here, ajmcmullen.com, selling signed copies right on there. There's going to be a bundle in the future where you can get a huge discount on my Red Phase books, including an exclusive paperback version of Before the Flame. So be on the lookout for that. I'm going to put that up for a super discount, a super steal, and if you don't take advantage of it, you're gonna be insane not to do so. So with that being said, like this content, subscribe. If you have some tips about writing or prioritizing your writing that you want me to talk about in another video, or that you have used to streamline your process and make yourself more effective. Like I said, y'all, it's not about being perfect, it's about getting it done. When you read the book, it doesn't matter if I wrote it on the toilet or if I wrote it in the bed or this office right here. It all got written, and you can't tell the difference when you're reading it. So readers are not going to be able to tell the difference when they read your book. So let's get at it. Until next time, see you guys in the next video.